In discussing Indigenous pedagogy, we were really brought back to the story we did in class of Elvin and his experience in schools. So just to kind of get you caught up, or to remind you of what we read, Elvin was an Indigenous student who was born with a hearing impairment and tested for mild intellectual disability. He wasn't doing so well in school because he was often placed at the front of the room, and he got angry and sometimes violent because he thought he was being punished. So he lost kind of interest in school, naturally, as all of us would. His teachers then incorporated a universal design for learning approach. They planned a unit around the fishing trade, which drew on sciences, social studies, math, and language arts. And they also implemented First Nations programming with the whole class. They got an EA to help out with the whole class rather than just Elvin, so that way he didn't feel really isolated. By doing so, Elvin's engagement in class improved significantly, along with all the behavioral issues he was having at the beginning. His peers did better in class as well. And then his mom and his relationship with school, his family's relationship with the school, improved dramatically and tremendously. So why do we bring up Elvin when we've discussed him more than once already in class? The idea behind it is that by incorporating Indigenous pedagogy, we really do have an option to just actually make a difference in a student's life. So for Elvin, he had a hearing impairment, and he might have not realized, or he couldn't afford it, is what we discussed, to kind of get batteries replaced all the time, which made him fall behind. But by using things that appealed or that related to his culture, we were able to kind of engage him more and have him succeed as a student. Also, it's a prime example of how other students were able to use the same lessons he was using and benefited from them, which is the whole point of incorporating Indigenous pedagogy in special education classes for mental health reasons and also just for every student as a whole. So, my background's in health science, and every class included the fact that the Indigenous population had mental health issues that were much more severe than those of the remaining Canadian population. When we were looking at the mental health part of this, by incorporating practices from the Indigenous culture, we are able to kind of create a more community building feel to the classroom, which in turn can help with a lot of students' mental health issues. If they're feeling social anxiety, if they're feeling anxious, they can, well, it's the same thing as social anxiety, but if they're feeling anxious, they can discuss it. If they feel a little bit lonely or depressed, they feel more a sense of community, which all kind of helps them move forward. It also helps us as educators be able to realize if someone needs our help, or if we're not able maybe to provide it, a way to reach out and give them the accurate information and the accurate sources to be able to improve their day-to-day lives and mainly their academic life as well. So we can also say that and if we're looking back at Elvin's case, we can say that by relating Elvin's lessons to his everyday life, or relating the lessons to Elvin's everyday life, and making lessons meaningful, the educators not only improved his engagement, but improved the engagement of all students. Even further so, we can say that if you look at the story, it tells you how his siblings used Elvin's example to become more engaged in school. So really, it's kind of a trickle-down effect. You're kind of like one little thing upstream affects the entire downstream result. So really, if we're looking at it like this, our argument is that there's no harm that can be done by incorporating Indigenous pedagogy into our education system. So by using personal narratives, by having the medicine wheel, by having all these things that are up here, we can kind of have them translated down here and have the results benefit everyone.